The comments by Hahn and other officials came on Sunday when the number of confirmed cases in the United States stood at 551,896, and the number of deaths reached 21,890. They also came as news spread that one of those who died after being infected was a billionaire donor and personal friend of Trump, New York real estate developer Stanley Chera. The overall picture of the toll remained devastating over the holiday weekend. In New York State, the epicenter of the epidemic in the United States, the death toll approached 10,000. The Navajo Nation implemented a 57-hour weekend curfew as cases neared 700. Some experts, such as Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, argued Sunday that rather than a sudden reopening of the entire country, the United States should instigate a quote-unquote rolling re-entry into normal life depending on the conditions in different regions. Begin quote. It is not going to be a light switch, end quote, Fauci said on CNN's State of the Union. It is going to be depending where you are in the country, the nature of the outbreak you've already experienced, and the threat of an outbreak that you may not have experienced, end quote. Okay, I'm going to skip several paragraphs to the end of this article. Those developments were tempered, however, by, this is about the United Kingdom, UK Health Department figures showing 737 deaths in the previous 24 hours, raising Britain's official death toll above 10,000. And Russia reported its largest spike in new cases since the beginning of the outbreak, with 2,186 new cases confirmed in the past day. With the next steps for the United States still uncertain, a special envoy to the WHO said Sunday that the public health community is still very much on high alert, even as some countries see positive results from mitigation efforts. The virus is still advancing in other parts of the world, end quote, David Nabarro said on NBC News' Meet the Press. He added, "We think it's going to be a virus that stalks the human race for quite a long time to come, until we can all have a vaccine that will protect us," end quote. Aha, see, they're trying to push their fake science, their fake medicine all over you guys. Okay, cases reach 1,804 as county alters Easter tradition. As the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in San Diego County reached 1,804, worshipers turned to virtual services to celebrate Easter. As churches remained closed and members of one congregation drove decorated cars past local nursing homes and hospitals, San Diego County health officials reported 43 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 and no additional deaths, leaving the region's death toll at 45, according to a county update released Sunday afternoon. Of the 1,804 confirmed cases, 415 have required hospitalizations, with 152 of those requiring intensive care, county officials said. Saturday's 43 new confirmed cases was the lowest number of reported new cases since March 28th, when county health officials reported 31 new cases. Officials reported 68 new cases on Friday, 85 the day before that, and 98 on Wednesday. There's one more article that I want to read you in full, but before I do that, I'm going to just briefly go over some of the other headlines in the newspaper. Office life likely to change after pandemic. More space between workers, frequent cleanings, continuation of working from home expected. Why many essential workers get paid so little, according to experts. And that's actually quite an interesting article, so I'm going to go ahead and read the first couple paragraphs of that. The coronavirus pandemic has divided the American labor force into two classes: those who are essential to keeping society running, and everyone else. The essential workers harvest our food and stock our grocery store shelves. They fulfill orders at warehouses and deliver products all over the country. They drive our buses, gas our cars, and keep our streets clean. They watch our children and care for us when we fall ill. They also happen to be among the lowest paid in the country, so why the disconnect? And conversely, why are relatively non-essential jobs in such fields as entertainment and finance so well compensated? To find out, we asked economists across the ideological spectrum to explain. Supply and demand. The concept of supply and demand loomed large in most of their answers. Begin quote, many of the essential occupations are easy to enter, and jobs with a large supply of potential workers are paid less, end quote, said Wojciech Kopchak, an economics professor at Columbia University. Stocking shelves or running a cash register, for instance, might not require specialized knowledge or extensive training. And though there are skill differentials within such positions, a new cashier is going to be slower than someone who's been at it for a decade, for instance, the basic qualifications are relatively low. There's an extent to which any one can do the job, end quote, at least at its most baseline level. There's nothing paradoxical about this scenario, agreed Adam Ozimek, the chief economist at Upwork, because there are far more people who can fill such roles. They tend to command a pretty low wage. Scalability. Marion Bertrand of the University of Chicago points to the scalability of a job as another factor. An entertainer can provide value to millions of people, the economics professor said. A janitor, however, skilled at his job, can only clean one building at a time. But not all high earners are worth their paychecks, says Gabriel Zuckman, an economist at UC Berkeley. Begin quote, the crisis illustrates that there's a lot of arbitrariness in the wage-setting process, especially, but not only, at the top of the wage ladder, end quote, he said. Begin quote, salaries of millions of dollars, common in the financial industry and among corporate executives today, often have little measurable social utility, end quote, and are instead the result of individuals and companies manipulating political, social, and economic circumstances to pad their profits, he said. Okay, and that article goes on for probably 10 more paragraphs, but I'm going to stop there. Federal aid to independent contractors during virus. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act of 2020 makes enhanced federally funded unemployment benefits available to a self-employed individual and others who, begin quote, otherwise would not qualify for regular unemployment benefits, end quote. Working as an independent contractor is one form of self-employment. The entitlement to unemployment benefits includes access to the federally funded $600 per week of additional benefits under the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program. Ordinarily, unemployment compensation benefits are limited to properly classified employees. By expressly extending these benefits to the self-employed, the law makes it unnecessary for a regulator to decide whether the worker should have been classified as an employee of the hiring entity instead. To qualify for the additional $600 per week in unemployment benefits, a displaced independent contractor, like a displaced employee, must self-certify he or she is otherwise able to work and available for work, and begin quote, unemployed, partially unemployed, or unable or unavailable to work, end quote, for one of about a dozen pandemic-related reasons. On April 4th, the U.S. Department of Labor issued guidance on the FPUC program. The state must first consummate an agreement with the Labor Department to coordinate providing the benefits under the program. FPUC benefits then are available to qualified state residents from the first week that federal state agreement is in place until any week of unemployment ending July 31st. As of this writing, the Employment Development Department was working, begin quote, quickly with state partners to set up this new program, end quote, as it awaited, begin quote, final guidance from the federal government, end quote. Under state law, an eligible recipient may receive partial unemployment benefits or partial unemployment. The Labor Department's guidance confirms that, begin quote, if the individual is eligible to receive at least $1 of underlying benefits for the claimed week, the claimant will receive the full $600 FPUC, end quote. Be warned, however, a worker who idles himself just to access these federal benefits may be engaged in fraud and subject to repaying the benefits and to federal prosecution. In addition to unemployment benefits for which they otherwise would not qualify, independent contractors are eligible for federally backed small business loans through federally insured financial institutions under a popular feature of the CARES Act labeled the Paycheck Protection Program. Independent contractors also are eligible for small business advances of up to $10,000 directly from the Small Business Administration to help overcome the temporary loss of revenue they are experiencing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic under the Separate Economic Injury Disaster Loans Program. Separately, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act makes the self-employed sidelined for coronavirus-related reasons eligible for paid sick leave in the form of substantial refundable tax credits. Many of the temporary rules developed in response to the rapidly moving coronavirus crisis are coming from the federal government with its massive resources and from state executive officials such as governors and regulators who can respond in real time to rapidly changing developments. While the legislature is shuttered for now, California state and federal courts continue limited operations. In an April 7th ruling, U.S. District Judge Vince Chahabria cited the temporary federal benefits to independent contractors in denying an emergency motion filed by a few Lyft drivers to require the company immediately to reclassify them as employees under AB 5, the new independent contractor law. The drivers argued immediate reclassification would enable them to earn paid sick leave under California law, without which they would feel compelled to work even with COVID-19 symptoms. The judge saw the drivers' motion as a defective attempt to capitalize on the coronavirus pandemic. In contrast to substantial federal benefits now available to independent contractors, which may be jeopardized by reclassification, the judge observed that 41% of Lyft drivers qualify for no paid sick leave at all under California's paid sick leave law, and many who do qualify are eligible for 4 hours of leave or less.